Hello everyone and welcome back to the only series out there that combines the lore of Magic the Gathering with the physical cards you can win. I'm Simon and this is Friday Night Lore, Part 2. Welcome everyone to the highly anticipated and slightly delayed video on the concluding lore for Eldritch Moon. In Part 1, we explored the trauma currently unfolding on Innistrad as the Eldrazi Titan Emrakul unleashes its full might upon the planeswalkers of the Gatewatch. While the necromancer Liliana Vess bought the heroes some time with her army of zombies, the Titan itself let loose a wave of insanity which crippled the entire group. Forced into the safety of Jace's mind thanks to a reflective spell, the Gatewatch struggles with a different, more internal threat as the Mind Maid searches for answers. You can recap all of that in Part 1, which you can find here or in the description below. One person, notably absent from Jace's perspective, was one Liliana Vess. Without the protective spell, she's left to defend the helpless Gatewatch against a foe far stronger than anything she's ever faced before. The Gatewatch were lucky Liliana needed a favor. Were she less inclined, she would have left the plane the second things started turning bad. She looks over to see the Gatewatch talking and discussing their next move with the added assistance of a moonfolk, this Tameo figure Jace told her about. Even though some may not have liked it, namely Nissa and Gideon, they had her full support on this matter, for now anyway. As the heroes talked, Liliana did what she does best, commanding hundreds upon hundreds of undead in an orderly fashion. They were the only thing standing between them and utter destruction after all. But this wasn't all there was. There was an endgame here, and Jace knew what it was. Liliana really wanted to know what was going on. Before she could break her focus, a sound like the world itself coming to an end creaked over the horizon. The Titan Emrakul arrived above Thraben. The Gatewatch stayed ever focused, but Liliana was stunned, not at its size, but at its smell. It stank of foulness that sat harshly with her. She knew the aroma of death, but this was something else. Something unnatural and wrong. In its wake, Emrakul unleashed a torrent ripple of insanity which hit each of the planeswalkers where they stood, crippling most of them instantly. Liliana was overcome with nausea and vertigo, a sickly combination the likes of which she'd only experienced a few times in her long life. The day she first dabbled in black magic, ultimately losing her brother Jasu, when she was first beset by the baleful gaze of the powerful Nicol Bolas, and when the chain veil first cracked her skin and spilled her blood with its evil. Yet, even of those powerful memories, nothing compared to this feeling she got from Emrakul. She spent her whole life in the pursuit of everlasting youth, the escape of death. Emrakul made her regret that goal. The words started soft but grew in intensity. Emrakul, Emrakul. A quick shake of the head seemed to drown them out for the time being. Liliana had lived too long to succumb now. No amount of voices in her head would make her fall or take control, and there were so many now. "We must leave this plane, it's insanity to stay," said a voice she's heard for far too many years. It was the Raven Man, speaking to her mind, sounding frightened. Liliana took some joy in that. Another internal voice spoke up. This one, a mass collection of speakers talking in unison. "Vessel of destruction, root of evil, flee!" It was the ghosts of the Chain Veil, pleading with her to leave this threat. With Emrakul's pressure outside and the voices inside, Liliana had to fight hard to keep herself from falling. These were her zombies, her Chain Veil, her head. Her fear was replaced by anger, as another explosion erupted from Emrakul. This one was far more intense, bringing her to her knees, making her even angrier. Her zombies moaned out a single word: Emrakul. Liliana was losing control. Emrakul couldn't manipulate the zombies outright, but the Titan could play on Liliana's mind. The thought of her powers being used against her sickened the necromancer, and filled her with even more rage. Liliana tried attempt after attempt to regain focus, which she managed to do, only to discover that Emrakul had in fact gained control over her zombies through what seemed to be pure force of will. This being from between the blind eternities was so powerful that even the dead answered its call. Beckoning the full power of the Chain Veil, dark energy swells under Liliana's skin. The demonic etchings glow with power as blood seeps through the cracks. With this power came pain, and with that pain, she felt her zombies again fall under her command. She would never let Emrakul have what's hers. Still, voices paraded her mind like it were theirs. Chief among them was the Raven Man. "We must leave here, this is madness! I thought you wanted to conquer death. The entity you face is older than time and more powerful than you, even if you wielded 100 chain veils. We must leave. he said, as if this mysterious figure could ever command Liliana Vess. She turned around to spare a look at the Gatewatch, all of which were collapsed on the ground, save for Jace, which seemed to be in a magical trance. Liliana reached out to the fallen planeswalkers with her necromantic spells, but they didn't answer. They were still alive, it seemed. She was facing Emrakul alone. The thrill excited her. She was at full strength and power. The first time in centuries she's felt like this. The prospect of death was now a risk she had to take. The Chain Veil again called out to her. Vessel, vessel of destruction, we must flee the World Ender, the World Creator. All Liliana could do was scream, I don't belong to you, you belong to me, I am no vessel. The voices fell silent. Good, now she can focus. All that matters now is her will, her desire. With that, nothing could stand against her. She tapped into the full power of the Chain Veil and focused on the giant titan floating ominously in the sky. Emrakul was her foe, and she was prepared to fight it just like any other. She thought to herself, no one thinks I can beat you. Let's find out. The sheer power of the Chain Veil was something majestic to Liliana. It crackled with energy, almost begging to be used, begging to wither something, to kill. Power is meant to be used, and she knew this thing was of great power. It was living power, and if it lived, then it could die, and if it died, it belonged to her. She let loose torrents of necromantic magic straight at Emrakul, her own considerable power bolstered by that of the Chain Veil. Huge chunks of the Titan would wither and fall clean off. Giant tentacles turned to dust as it tried in vain to block the assault, and its massive form seemed to be pushed back by Liliana's attacks. As unlikely as it may have seemed, Liliana was winning this deadly tug of war. Again, the Raven Man had to ruin the moment with his annoying thoughts. You know not what you do, what you dare. You cannot hope to contain this power for much longer. Liliana had no time for small-minded mystics. Today, she would destroy an Eldrazi Titan. Why? Because she dared. She looked again to the fallen planeswalkers, wishing they were conscious to witness his power. She couldn't help but see them as nothing more than pathetic excuses for planeswalkers. But as the battle continued, the Raven Man's words became more clear. The first sign of trouble came in her lapse of concentration and an interruption to her tempo. Each breath would be coupled with another blast of black magic, rinse and repeat. But while her power wasn't failing, her body was. The exhaustion of mounting so much power at a single time was taking its toll, and while much of Emrakul was now dust, the Eldrazi was reforming itself faster than ever. Liliana believed that while the Titan may regrow, it wouldn't keep up with its losses and it'll eventually fade to nothing. She was wrong. The Titan surged in the sight of Liliana's weakened state. Even with pulses of power, nothing could halt Emrakul's advance. Again, the Raven Man spoke. If you're lucky, Liliana, your death is now the best possible outcome of today. You have doomed us both. He sounded resigned. For the first time since rescuing the Gatewatch, Liliana was afraid. She had been holding back some of her power to counteract the effects the Chain Veil had on her body, but with her defeat looking more ensured, she reserved it all to staying alive for another moment. The Chain Veil's power now wreaked havoc on her body. Her skin split and cracked, letting loose rivers of blood. The pain was great, but her mind only focused on staying alive. Move after move, spell after spell, Liliana managed to extend her life by more seconds than she had expected. A giant tentacle broke through her magic and wrapped around her waist. It squeezed, but only found rage-fueled incineration. It was another close call, which this fight was having more and more of. She looked again to the planeswalker, still sitting there, useless. She screamed out for Jace, hoping that whatever he was doing was important. The power of an ancient planeswalker, 4 demons, and a cursed artifact with the souls of an entire race of beings wasn't enough. Liliana fell. But luckily, Jace was doing something useful after all. He came back to reality just in time to find Liliana passed out on the ground, losing a great deal of blood. Her zombies were merely a fraction of what they had been before he left the battle. They were running out of space and time. The others of the Gatewatch were coming to as well. Jace sent out telepathic commands. Gideon, Chandra, Liliana's zombies need your help. We can't let Emrakul's minions through. Chandra added she could still burn the Titan, as was their original plan, but that was no longer an option. Emrakul was too vast, too powerful. Jace doubted they could defeat her at all. Nissa's thoughts echoed Jace's. Burning it would do nothing. They needed to find an alternative fast. Chandra went off to torch other things. Tamio, the Moon Sage, chimed in with a memory, the memory of Avacyn's last words. What cannot be destroyed must be bound. That was it. They needed to bind Emrakul as it had been previously on Zendikar. But what on Innistrad could possibly hold such a powerful force? Again, Tamiyo had a suggestion: the Hell Vault. Although it was destroyed, the material from whence it came was still potent enough to imprison Emrakul, Innistrad's silver moon itself. Jace's mind instantly went to Nissa, who was fusing her magic to heal the injured Liliana Vess. He asked Nissa if she could power the spell, but she was hesitant to say yes. There weren't many cryptoliths nearby, certainly not enough to funnel the mana required to fuel such a powerful spell. But Nissa owed Jace for helping her when the Titan first assaulted their mines. She would try, regardless of the risks. Tamiyo was ready to help as well. She had a spell, a book which could help provide extra mana for Nissa to use. As she reached for the scroll, Jace's mind raced. He recalled the angel Emeria, the vague form of Emrakul, writing in one of her iron-bound books. The scroll being used wasn't bound by iron, however. The memory quickly faded. Everything was ready. Nissa began to cast the spell, etching the seal on the moon of Innistrad. Tamiyo read from her scroll to provide more mana, while Jace focused on grafting the spell to Emrakul itself. The Gatewatch struggled for what felt like hours, but it had barely been a few moments. The spell needed much more mana, torrents of it. Tamiyo was helping, but it just wasn't enough. Innistrad couldn't spare any more. They were losing the spell. As Jace tried to funnel as much mana as he could, he lost the mental connection with Tamiyo. She floated there, almost lifeless, refusing to respond in any way. She pulled out another, much longer scroll, one bound by ironclads. The spell fueled Nissa and Jace with an obscene amount of mana, more than any single world was capable of producing. Jace snapping the bindings in place as Nissa pulled and pulled at the Eldrazi Titan. Light from the moon itself shined down and enveloped Emrakul. Reality warped as it stretched thinner and even thinner. Emrakul folded again and again in on itself. The light faded and it was gone. Tamiyo fell to her knees in the cold dark. It was over, but for some, the victory was bittersweet. Tamiyo flew off without much conversation, but Jace tracked her to the ruined church of Avacyn where they first met. He talked to the Moon Sage. He understood that she promised to never use those spells, but if she hadn't, they all would have died. Tears rushed down Tamiyo's face. There was something much deeper going on. She explained that it wasn't her who used the spell. Emrakul had entered her body and controlled her actions. The spell she read? It was designed to destroy worlds, not produce mana. In reading the scroll, Innistrad should have been lost. The spell wasn't the same. Jace's mind raced, thinking back to the illusion of Emeria, writing in that book as they played chess. How could Emrakul do something as impossible as this? The words of this ancient being came back to him. They're all my pieces, Jace Beleren. I just don't want to play anymore. Jace and Tamiyo both understood what had happened, yet still couldn't grasp it. Emrakul had imprisoned herself, but to what end? Had they really won this battle, or were they still in the shadow of the Eldrazi? This was all wrong. I am incomplete, unfulfilled. There should be blossoms, not barren resentment. The soil was not receptive. It's not my time. Not yet. Emrakul's final words are forever etched in Jace's mind. While these secrets were being uncovered, Gideon was begrudgingly offering another planeswalker a position on the Gatewatch, Liliana Vess. She had thought about joining even before Gideon asked, but her reasons were her own. She commands endless ranks of the undead, but these were planeswalkers, powerful figures who can make real change possible. Friends are known to help each other, at least in Jace's experience, so the Gatewatch was another tool Liliana could use to aid her ambitions. Her pledge to the Gatewatch was real, but full of falsehoods. She had great plans for these planeswalkers, and they would all help her in the end. And that, guys, is where we end the story of Eldritch Moon. We have a lot of questions in regards to Liliana's plans and the fate of Emrakul, questions we may not have answers to. But those are all material for future videos. For now, it's time to announce the special closing Eldritch Moon giveaway of the week. So to say fare thee well to Eldritch Moon's story, I'll be giving away a copy of Emrakul the Promised End along with an Eldritch Moon Fat Pack. To enter for your chance to win these prizes, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the channel, leave a comment on this video, and maybe share it with someone you know. At the end of the week, I'll select a winner at random and announce them at the end of next week's FNL. And that's gonna do it for this week's Friday Night Lore, guys. As always, if you liked the video, please support the channel by liking and sharing it. You can also support the channel through Patreon. Not only do you directly fund the videos you love, but you also get entered into monthly giveaways for fat packs, cards, and booster boxes. Check it out along with my other social media accounts linked in the description below. FNL and all my giveaways are sponsored by abugames.com. It's a one-stop shop for all things MTG, and I really suggest you guys checking them out. Anyway, thanks so much for all your support in making this the greatest Vorthos channel out there. And as always, I'll see you next time.